Hello, students. We have day 6 lesson. This is on page 27. Some of you will get to this point. Solving equations of the two-step variety. The less objective, I can find the solution to an equation, also known as solve. Okay. So previously we did some practice with just solving some basic one-step equations, because obviously involving two-step equations, you need to be also one-step equations. In this video, I'm going to do example number 1 and example number 2 on page 27. And then there'll be some problems for you to practice, plus the, blue fluency. Example number 1. Okay. Consider the equation 5x plus 3 equals 23. But what I want you to consider right now is that I can realize that probably at this point you would be able to figure out what x is without using an algebraic process. But keep in mind, we are trying to use algebra, and the key to algebra is undoing. All right? So if x equals 5 is a solution, to understand how to undo, to use algebra, you have to understand what's going on mathematically. So one way to determine that is to determine, is x equal to 5 a solution? Now you might know the answer to this already, but meaning if x is equal to 5, then that means that I should be able to plug x in, or 5 in for x, and what I get here would be equal to 23, and I'll put a question mark above that because I don't know. I mean, I think you know already at this point. But so the operations, what operations would I have to do in order to check this in a sense? Well, I'd have to multiply the 5 and 5 together and get 25 plus 3, 28. So I would be multiplying, then I would be adding. All right? And I'm going to put underneath it dividing, subtracting, because they kind of go hand in hand in PEMDAS when you think about it. Solve the equation by reversing what has been done to x. Now here's how we use algebra. So clearly, no, x equals 5 is not a solution. So now what we'll be looking for is how to solve the equation by reversing what's been done to x. So if I have 5x plus 3 is equal to 23, I'm going to take and work backwards by reversing it, which means that I have to undo the addition first. This is why when you solve two-step equations, why you always start with a number that's not attached to the x. Because you have to undo in the reverse order of PEMDAS if you're considering orders of operations. All right, so here you end up with, this is the algebraic process, also what we were doing in class yesterday in Fast and Furious. And we divide both sides by 5, and you get x equals 4. So I do the subtraction to get rid of the 3, undo it. Then to undo multiplication, I have to use division. So I get x equals to 4. Now I can verify that should say verify or check. 5 times 4 plus 3, well 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 is 23, and it checks. All right? So obviously that's a very, very basic one, but in order to understand how to solve the more complicated ones, you have to understand what's going on the easier ones. All right, moving down to solving equations by using inverse operations. Okay, using algebra in a sense. If a variable you are solving for shows up only once, identify the operations that have been done and reverse them in the opposite order in which they occur. So, in example number 2, here we've got two different equations that are now, this one I've got some negatives involved. This one, I've got it reversed a little bit. So we're going to go through each one of these. First thing, what happens to x? Well, x is being multiplied by the negative 3. And then you are adding the 2. So what happens is we need to reverse that operation. So here I'm going to rewrite the equation. I'm going to draw a line down here. And I'm going to start by undoing the addition of 2. So I'm going to subtract 2 first. So this is actually very similar to the one above. It has negatives. So what's left is negative 3x. Over here, be very, very careful. We're combining. And when you combine, you have a negative 4 combined with a negative 2. That's negative 6. That's where most students are going to make mistakes. All right, now this is what's confusing sometimes. Negative 3 is being multiplied. So we have to divide by negative 3. It doesn't become a plus 3. I know that's something that students tend to try to do. So you divide both sides by negative 3, and you get a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive, and this would be x equals 2. All right, part B. 15 minus 5y is equal to 25. So what happens to, in this case, y? Well, if I were to put a number in, like say 1, I would still have to multiply first. So I'd have to multiply by negative 5, because that negative goes with the 5. Then, here, that's a plus 15, which means that I'm going to add the 15, because it's a positive 15. Right? Which, and literally, we're just going to be combining anyway. So now we got to work our way backwards. So I have 15 minus 5y equals 25. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 15 first, because it's a plus 15. Okay. I still have a negative 5y on the left side, and this is equal to 10. Divide both sides by negative 5. Okay. And y equals 10 divided by negative 5, which is negative 2. All right. So these are just different types of equations. They're written in different orders, but they follow the same process. And if you want to generalize these equations, especially in 7th grade, you're always undoing some form of addition or subtraction, and then undoing multiplication or division. Right. So as far as practicing is concerned, this is going to be the end of the video, but you're going to start on the next page, fluency. You're going to go to page 13 in your fluency books, and you're just going to pick a column. Okay? And then you're going to check with me. Check with Sims. Right. After you're done, then I can guide you into the next direction, which would be one more video. So.